Hey everyone, in this video tutorial I'm going to show you in Clara.io how to set up and use UV mapping, just the basics. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new scene here and come in on that cube. And first thing I need to do is I need to bring in my textures. So a lot of times when you're looking for textures, a good search is to look for the texture you're looking for, use the word texture, and a lot of time you're going to want a seamless texture. Sometimes this is also called a tileable texture. And you can also look for free ones. There are, of course, ones out there that are paid for. Pinterest seems to be showing up an awful lot today, so good luck finding that. That might take a little longer, but you might get some better results. But you can go ahead and look. So I've already got one downloaded to my computer. So I'm going to come up here to File, and I'm going to choose Import Files. Now you can just drag and drop your texture right into Clara, but for my students that are Chromebook users, I find this step is easier. So I'm going to click on Choose Files, and then for my Chromebook users, you would come over here on the left-hand side and click on Files, and then go find your Downloads folder. For everybody else, just go find the texture that you've downloaded. All right, so there's my brick texture coming in, and it shows up down here in the bottom left. And once it's uploaded, it's going to show up right here under the material library. Sometimes you have to give it a moment. Okay, there it is. So there's my texture. I can click on the texture, and if I come over here on the right and scroll down, you'll see there's the texture, so it did come in fine. So now I need to make a material to be able to apply it to this object. So I'm going to come up here to Material Library, click on it. I'm now going to right mouse click, go here to New, choose Standard, and click on Standard. I'm now going to rename the standard material, and I can either rename it by double left clicking, or I can right mouse click on it and choose Rename. I'll go ahead and delete the word standard, and I'll just call this brick map for material. Okay, I'll click on my brick material, and then over here on the right-hand side, there's a section called Diffuse, and Diffuse is the main color. So I'm going to click on Select Image, and I'm going to choose my only image here, brick material. Then to apply it, I'll just drag the material right onto the object, and you'll see that it looks pretty good. It's way too shiny, but it looks pretty good. Okay. So now on to UV mapping. UV mapping allows you to have much greater control in choosing how your texture is wrapped around your object. It'll allow you to change the size, the rotation of the texture, the placement of the texture. If you're trying to get, if I wanted to get like certain like graffiti up here on the wall, I could put it up here specifically in the corner. So it gives you a lot more control. It's more work, but it pays off. So even though this might look fine to you, we still want to go ahead and do it. So I'm going to select the object, and I'm going to come over here on the Tools tab. When you're on the Tools tab, you can be under any one of these selection materials. Right now I'm on Object. I could also be under Faces, but I'm going to just be on Object. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll down, and I'm going to see a category here called UVs, and there's a whole bunch here. We're just going to focus on the very first one here called UV map. And when I add a UV map, now you'll see it looks like it messed up, and you'll think you made a mistake, but you did not. You'll also see this yellow sort of bar going through it. That's called the UV helper, and that's a little guide that's going to help you out. So if you've never UV mapped before, you want to think of usually sewing is a good example, or gift wrapping. I like gift wrapping. So with gift wrapping, you lay down a flat piece of paper, okay? And that's going to be your texture. That's going to be your photograph. That's our photograph of this brick. And then you're going to put the object onto the gift wrapping paper. And then you're going to wrap the gift wrapping paper up and around, and you're going to attach it to the gift, right? So that's kind of what we're doing here. We're taking a flat texture, the texture of the brick, and we're going to be wrapping it around the object in this case. Okay, so you can see it looks good on the top. It also looks good on the bottom. but it's stretching on all of the sides. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So with my brick still selected, I'm going to come over here on the right hand side, and you've got your Properties tab. You're going to click on that, and up here at the top you're going to see it now says UV map. That means you have applied a UV map, and you now have this thing called a helper. If I click on the helper, that's this little gold line right here. Now here's the interesting thing. I can manipulate this helper. I'm using the Move tool right now. I'm going to go ahead and drag it up and above so you can see it better. So there's the helper right there. What does it do? Well, if I click and I drag it another direction, check that out. I can actually move the texture, and I can choose what part of the brick texture the viewer's eyes see. And I can go, of course, in the other direction as well. Okay? Now it's not fixing the sides yet. We'll take care of that in a moment. So notice that I can go on the X and I can go on the Z. Can I go on the Y? No. Okay. Let's see. Can I rotate the texture? Well, if I choose rotate and I choose these, you'll see, yes, I can. And you'll see some sides look good. Like now this side looks better. This side not so much, and the top looks pretty terrible. I'm going to go ahead and undo that. So this little guide here is really fantastic. So you can move and you can rotate. Can I scale? No. So you can't really scale using the scale, but move and rotate we can. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to make this look good around on all sides. So coming over here, you're going to have all your different settings, and this video is going to just cover the basics. So we have some settings over here. We've got width, height, length. Then we've got U tile and V tile. So if I play around with these, I'm going to get different results. Underneath that, you have some really good settings here, and I'm not going to go into every setting. So we're actually going to look at this first one right here, projection. This is how the image is projected onto the object. So imagine like a classic projector that you would have in a classroom, right? And the image or the video is playing through the projector onto your object. So right now, the default choice is planar. That means that it's projecting through the object through a plane. And right now, it's projecting through the y-axis. And that's why it looks good on the top. And that's why it looks good on the bottom, because it's going through the y-axis. If I choose the x-axis, you'll see that now it looks good on the x-axis on both sides, because the brick texture is being projected through the x-axis, but it looks terrible on the others. And I can choose Z, and now it looks great on the Z, but nowhere else. So how do we fix this? Well, that's planar projection. It works really well on one side, on a plane. What if I choose box projection? Well, box projection, you'll see, changes the helper shape. We now get a box shape. Okay, and I can go ahead and move that down. And you'll see that it looks much better. But again, I can move the helper on all of the axes, and you'll see that it changes it. So maybe the brick texture had something on it you didn't want to see. You could use this helper to just kind of position it around and just change the texture, just to where you want. Okay? All right, so let's talk about what if the bricks were not the right size, right? So I can come up here. Let me change the width. Instead of 1, I'm just going to change it to 2. Let's see what we get. And you can see it's twice as wide. If I change the height to 2, it's twice as high. It's pretty good. Now again, you'll see that I've got a box projection, but it's going on the z-axis here. And you can see that's why the z side is looking like this, but the y side is not. Let me go ahead and try clicking on the y-axis. There we go. And again, sometimes you just want to click on your different settings and see if you get much of a change. I'm going to go ahead and just get these back to 1. There we go. Okay, so I've also got some other shapes here for projection. I've got cylindrical, and you can see cylindrical, of course, you can see it does a cylinder. Looks not so good at the top, bottom, sides are okay. And then I've got spherical, and this would be more for an object that is more like a sphere. I'm going to go back to box because that makes sense. And there are some buttons down here that I want you to try. There's auto fit, auto align, best fit, auto center, and reset. So you can try these to start off. So if you try auto fit, that's a good first button to try. It's going to just give you its best guesses. If you choose best fit, again, Clara's going to try what it thinks is the best fit. It's not always right, as you can see in this example. You can always hit reset and just get back to normal. Okay, so let's say I haven't played with these U tiles and V tiles yet. So let's say I change the width to 2 and I change the height to 2. So what happens if I change U tile and V tile? Let's see. I'm going to change that to 2 as well. And you can see that what's happening is tiling it's telling the texture to repeat itself. It's tiling like tiles on a floor or tiles on a wall. So the width and the height change the size of the texture. The U tile and V tile settings change how many times it repeats. So I'm going to change this to the number 4. And you'll see that it's repeating itself 4 times horizontally. And now if I change it to 4 on the V tile, it's repeating itself 4 times vertically, okay? Now, if you haven't studied UV mapping before, U and V, the U actually means the width going across. The V actually means the vertical. V doesn't stand for vertical though. They used U and V because X and Y were already taken up. And that's the only explanation that I'm going to give you right now. That's just the simple one, okay? So by playing around with these 2 areas of settings, you can typically get the right placement, okay? And you can see it's repeating all over. Okay, I hope this helps you out. I'm going to cut this short because we're at 13 minutes now for this video, and I wanted it to be just the basics. All right, good luck, and I will see you next time. Thanks, everyone.